everybody, and welcome back to Reaper Pro-Tips with me, your host, Anne, and Disembodied Hands Quibby, along with her devoted servitors, Justin and John. Kiki is eating an ice cube, and she's going to leave it right next to me where it melts into a puddle that I then step in when I'm done with stream. Hey, Fuzzball, do you want to say hi to people? She's kind of bitey today, so I don't know, but here's a Kiki. Good girl, yeah. She's, we have guests. We have David's dad has stayed the night with us, so he's still around here somewhere. Nope. No bites. So she's like really that today because her entire routine has been off because there's been a stranger in the house from last night through this morning. Yeah, so there we go. I've been slobbered on. It's a proper start to the stream. Yeah. Malcolm says Bork. Bork to you, Malcolm. Bork to you. Funny. Oh, dear. Yeah, it's a morning, all right. Whenever there are people in the house, like, I don't know. I'm just a weird... I don't know if it's... I was thinking about this morning. Did you guys notice after the pandemic was mostly, now that it's mostly gone, did you notice that you became a more insular, like, person? Like that you liked your quiet more, you liked your, you're more irritated having people around. Have you noticed that? Is it just me? Like, or is somebody else that also noticed that? Yeah, because, like, I was thinking about that this morning. Having people in the house never used to, like, throw me off this much. And I am a very introvert person, right? I'm very reserved, and I'm very, you guys see probably my best, outgoing face at ReaperCon. And it exhausts me, right? I love to interact with everybody, but boy, it's tiring. But now it feels like I just like, oh my gosh, oh good, lots of you. Yay, it's not just me. Yeah, and some of us have always been like that, right? And I have, Miss Imp, I have been like that before, but it's more now. Like, it's bigger. Like, I feel like I'm aging. I'm becoming that old woman, the crotchety old woman. Get off my lawn. Get out of my kitchen, What do you got? Yeah, right, Jedi Jared, right? Yeah, it feels like... Yeah, a lot of us are. Yeah, you just so Kerniko, like, you've got the t-shirt that says, I found out recently that my lifestyle is called pandemic. Or called, what is it? Crap, when they told us isolation. The isolation thing. Yeah. Kiki, if you're going to try to eat that knot, I'm going to kick you into the kitchen. No. Settle down. Get your bully stick and settle down. I know, it's very upsetting. Kiki's also off. So it's like I'm... Quarantine, thank you. My chosen lifestyle is called quarantine. Thank you, Eleanor. Sorry, words are hard today. Yeah. I mean, there's danger in that too, right? Because if you get too isolated, then it can impact your life, down the road, right? Like we should all have relationships somewhere. Although, I mean, communities online, like this stream community, do help to address that, right? Like we all get together, we hang out, we chat, we share stuff, and it helps, right? So I don't know. I've always I'm big into longevity studies because I want to live to be 100. I've always wanted to live to be 100. I've always wondered the difference, wanted to see the difference in the world over time. And so I read a lot of that stuff, and they say that one of the most important things is having personal ties and people you care about, right? So I worry a little bit when I'm getting so insular that it's not good for me, right? Like it is good for me on one side, productivity side, it's definitely good for me. But yeah, that kind of thing, it's that kind of back and forth thing. I'm always like, am I a little bit too much this, that kind of thing. Right. Although you have family or friends, right, Shadow Raven? You do stuff with people. You love crowds. Yeah, crowds are different than social interaction, though. A lot of people, even a lot of introverts, like being alone in a crowd. Like, I used to love to go to my local barbecue Wild Wings because I knew some of the staff. But I would just go there to write. Right, and it was loud and blaring, and there was tons of people all around. But I could do it. I liked being, it's sometimes it's fun to be alone in a crowd. Yeah, right, Turgeon. As long as it keeps you involved. I think that's the key when it comes to the longevity research and having a happy life as you get older and a fulfilled life as you get older is like just being able to have those relationships with people and those friendships with people where you're involved with them. And having the hobby, honestly, having miniatures painting hobby is another good thing. And not just as you get older, but just like having something you care about, right? Like something that you do in your spare time that really is rewarding and, makes you feel good, helps you detox or de-stress or whatever it is that you're trying to do at the moment. Yeah. I mean, I'm similar. I have a lot of my, plus I just like to think. I just like to be alone to think. I have a hard time, like two of my strengths are like thinking and focusing. And I have a hard time doing either when there are people around. Even David, even having David home for the day, I will be less productive, even though he's out in the back room here and I hardly see him. It's still like I know he's there. It's funny. Oh yeah, for sure. Well, and at ReaperCon, many of us have to go up to our rooms to get just kind of a break before we come back in. And it's not that we're not enjoying the con, right? It's not that you're not enjoying the experience. It's just that after a while, like all the people like kind of press on you and you just need a moment to breathe. Yeah, well, there were a lot of divorces. There were a lot of like marriages and a lot of divorces during the pandemic. And a lot of people buying pets. Yeah, it was just a catalyst, right? Like you really find out. Like that's why it was funny, but moving across country right at the start of the pandemic and then living with David all that time before we got married last year, at the end of last year, like we learned like, if there were going to be any friction or problems between us, we would have hit them. We would have hit them in those years of lockdown. So I feel pretty confident that I've got good choice this time, guys. Yeah, sensory overload is a real thing too, Agent Marvel. I agree. It was just weird because I was like, it's just, I just noticed that in myself this morning. I try to be kind of conscious. I like to kind of pay attention to how I'm feeling and be kind of self-aware. I enjoy that, kind of figuring out what's going on with Anne. It kind of helps me get through life. And it was just weird because there was a time where it wouldn't have made that kind of impact where I would have welcomed the distraction, right? And now I'm just like, no, I want to focus, right? I need my morning. I need my morning routine. I need to set myself up. Maybe I'm just spoiled. Every other year, Shadow Raven, yeah. It was very different for me because I do like to go out and go to places, right? So mostly I missed like going to a game store or the bookstore or the whatever, not being able to just go into a place, right? It was the masking that got me. Masking at the grocery store. And ordering a lot of groceries online so that I didn't have to go out. Like it was, I don't know, like I enjoyed it because I'm a weird introvert type, like, but it was still, yeah. Ugh. I'm curious. It just seems like I'm more that now. Like I'm more that. Like maybe I need a year where I like put myself out there and do a lot of social things to kind of reset to original Anne, who wasn't this far this way and was more like here. I don't know. It's funny. Oh, I don't like that either, Miss Imp. Although, you know what? That's a nice side effect I have found of the pandemic, Miss Imp, is that people are a lot more conscious of personal space because it's habit now. It's habit to stay a little bit away from somebody. And I like that. Like even at the post office yesterday, people were spacing out in line more than they would have before the pandemic. So I like that. Oh yeah, for sure. On the farm it's different, right? Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Hi Kiki. What's up? Are you a good girl? Do you have your bully? You should chew your bully. Yeah, I know you've already had almost a whole bully today. She's been going through it. But yeah, it's just weird. It's just weird. I just wondered if anybody else had noticed a little bit, like even if you were introverted, maybe you slid a little more introvert during the pandemic, right? It's just interesting. Because I definitely am more disrupted now. All right. Now I have to come to terms with what I'm doing. I have to come to terms with this model. Oh, yeah. So Europeans it more. Oh, fill all available space in at work. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Miss Imp. You were like, oh no, I liked my space. All right, I need to figure out what the heck I'm doing here. Because I am just like, I'm not at wit's end, but I'm like at the kind of, what the heck am I doing here kind of end. And I'm trying to figure out what color I want to use. And I am going to grab my color wheel because when I'm really, because I've got my reddish leather and it's going very well with my green. My green isn't as dark as I wanted it to be though. I remember now. I really did want to darken it down. So I'm debating putting a glaze over it. But I could map in the gray fur and that might help a bit. Although I'm rethinking a little bit now. I'm like, if I make my fur dark, then I have room to go with another color. This is what can happen to you when you do a muted color for your choice. We've definitely started with what I would call a yellow green, like we did a meadow plus pine green mix. Kiki, 1 second, guys. If Little Miss Pain in the Butt, she is a pain in the butt today. If Little Miss Pain in the Butt continues to be a pain in the butt, then I'll have to kick her out into the main room. No, you cannot claw up the knots, dearie. You cannot. I know. They offend you. They offend you mightily, but you must strive on to ignore them. Okay, big head. Okay. All right, big head. Good girl. Good girl. All right, go settle. Can you go settle? Yes. No, I don't want to play right now. Oh, yeah. The Brazilians are worse. Oh, no. Yeah, I did not like it just because, you know, with my allergies, sometimes it was a little harder to breathe and also my face sweats. But you know, but it also, like, sometimes it would help my allergies if it was outside and airborne allergies and things. We'll see. All right, so we have a dark yellow green, which means actually if I went opposite, I want to kind of look at where I am. I've got kind of a reddish orange brown. So let's look at whether that makes a pattern. So guys, this is a great way to use your color wheel. When you're stuck and you're like, OMG, what the heck? Look and see if what you've got is making a pattern already. So I've already got a reddish brown, which is going to be essentially a reddish orange because browns are oranges. And I've got a dark yellow green. So actually right away if I look, I see that actually is a triadic. See this big triangle here? So if I line it up with my yellow green and then I draw a line right down, what do I get? I get red orange right there. So then I should look over here and see, oh, okay. So blue violet. And that actually is funny because the color I was using for shading was Death Knight, which is a dark blue violet. So my biggest problem right now is I don't have a light color on this model. But my blue violet is actually in the right, like that is the right choice. So I should look at that blue violet and decide what I'm going to do with it. That gives me a triadic color scheme. So I should think of blue violet as one color that I can use, and then I should figure out neutrals for the rest, is what I usually do. I usually won't go with a fourth color on a model unless I'm using an accent. So if I decide to do, we'd already kind of decided to do his gemstones in black to keep him more subdued. Oh yeah. Yeah, the masks, actually the hard thing was teaching class in them. Still had to teach class in masks last KublaCon last year, and it was hard. Yeah, when you're immune compromised, it's a whole different game. Kiki? No, ma'am. No, ma'am. It's just a knot on the floor, sweetie. It's just a knot on the floor. She's so silly. No, she's scratching lightly. She's like, maybe if I do it really lightly, Mom won't notice. Oh, dog. Oh, that's funny, Kodiak. All right, so that's cool. Blue violet. All right, right now, though, we've got everything is kind of in the middle. Everything is kind of in the mid-dark range. So I do need a light. I think I probably should do gray for the fur, like I was thinking. I think a blue, I don't want to use a light blue violet. I don't think I wouldn't like that. I think I'll use a darker blue violet. So maybe my original kind of gut instinct was right, and I should go more with like a black indigo on the clothing. Let's try to block that in and see how we go. So yeah, even me with my color foo, there are times where I'm just like, you know, and I'm just not sure. And then when you've got that, the color wheel helps you a bit. You're like, oh, okay, so my gut was right. I just have to think of the right way to do this. Yeah, that makes sense, Valandar. I mean, if the 70-year-old is like vaxxed and boosted, then it's probably a little less concerned. But I mean, it's everybody's comfort level, right? That's the biggest thing when you're doing the deciding this stuff. I mean, it's what you're comfortable with, and whoever has the, I mean, when it's a group of friends, it probably should be whoever has the lowest risk tolerance. They set the bar, and if that means that you just don't, you know, you mask, you don't meet. If there's any risk, then that's what it means. Like, that's respectable. Like, that's seems like a very good way to run it, where everybody's, you know, it's frustrating, but at least everybody's comfort level is being met. Because we're all at a different level of comfortable with stuff, right? Some people are very comfortable with it now if they've been vaccinated. Other people are still not comfortable with it, and it's just the way it is. I always give people a lot of room, even walking Kiki out on the street, partially because Kiki is dingo, but partially just because there's still a couple people in this neighborhood who still mask, even walking outside, and who are being very careful, and I don't want to, you know, make them feel unsafe. So, alrighty, so we're going to do some black indigo. I'm going to grab, do I want to grab some rich indigo for highlights there? Or do I just want to add, I think I might want to just add white and maybe add a touch of rich indigo. Or night sky. Actually, night sky is probably a better call. Let me find my night sky indigo. I've still got, even though I finished my PDF yesterday, all my stuff is still everywhere here. You just lying there, Keekster? You got your bully? You've got your bully. Good girl. Keekster being a good girl. Let me find my indigo. There it is. Oh yeah, that's actually a pretty good color for this. All right, so yeah, let's do this. Let's do night sky and black indigo. Oh, that makes sense, Graniko. Well, right, exactly. If you still, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So it's just, you know, respect to everybody as much as I can. I try to do my own thing and without doing harm to others. So I was at the post office yesterday to mail Kiki's heart monitor to the next puppy person, and there was definitely one guy working behind the counter who was obviously did not have the comfort level of some of the other employees. So they made sure masking was optional, but I masked anyway. Masking was recommended. And there's a bookstore. There's an independent bookstore down on our Castro Street, which is kind of like our fun little street full of shops and restaurants down here in Mountain View, and they always have a mask, you know, politely requested. So, and my knitting shop, actually my yarn shop also. So, a lot of people. All right, we're gonna go. Night Sky Indigo is a muted indigo, but it's still fairly intense, so I am still going to start real dark. Right now, everything is kind of in the mid, so I will do probably dark, 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 So there are 3 places here, right, to do it, to fill in color still. Let's get this actually in focus. The mouse house. Sorry, I just remember what you just said, Miss Tim. Yeah, Castro's a really nice, like, there's a Sunnyvale, the next town over, also has a street that is like Castro. David and I, we were looking for a house, we went and walked down their street. It was not nearly as cool as Castro Street, so I was like, yeah, let's keep looking at Mountain View. We went down there for dinner last night. We took David's dad out for Amarin Thai, the Thai place there. Actually is really tasty. And I way put too much water. I'm using I reached for my big mixing brush and I use that to transfer water in. And sometimes that means I get more water. Hey, Keeks. Oh, hi there. Hi, Keeks. Good girl. You want pettins? Yeah, you calming down a little bit now? Yeah. Yeah. So David's dad was here for Christmas and he's seeing Kiki again after, being away for a month. And he's just like, oh my God, she's changed so much. Because she's much calmer. We don't see it because it's the incremental day to day, although I've noticed for the last week that she's noticeably calmer. Good girl. But yeah, it's more obvious to him. But yeah, Castro Street's nice. And actually, Castro Red Links, they made it a street mall during the pandemic, and it looks like it's staying. For at least 3 blocks, it looks like it's going to stay a street mall. They've actually put up signage that at the end that it's a 3-way stop, and instead of, So I think there's a movement to make it permanent. Yeah, we like their spicy basil pork. We did, and the green papaya salad. I love the green papaya salad. Yeah, so that's it's all like, yeah, it looks like, I don't know if they'll actually cobble it or do anything to make the street nicer, but for now it looks like it's going to stay outdoor dining all on those 3 blocks, which is so nice. Oh no, kennel cough. Yeah, all my dogs had it. My old dogs had it. Kiki's never had it, but I mean, one dog gets it and all the dogs get it is pretty much the way kennel cough works. All right, let's put some of this really dark indigo down, and then I'm going to highlight it with night sky. And I'm going to do the cuffs in a lighter color. I need to think about if I'm going to do... I did the hat in the red brown, but maybe the hat should have been in the dark brown on the boots. I'm not sure. Possibly the pommel of the sword should also have been in the dark brown of the boots, but we'll see. We'll see. We have, technically I will be putting another quote-unquote color on this, as I will be doing some gold or brass type fixtures on like the sword hilt. So there will be some metal, quote-unquote. And if that is not silver, then that does count as a color. It's generally not serious. It's just like, really, they cough a lot, right? Yeah. Yeah, that was before my time, I think, Red Links. We lost a couple of restaurants and places. We lost a couple of shops during the pandemic, obviously, on Castro. But now some new places are coming in, so that's kind of the good thing. Amarin actually went downsized because they could, right? Because places had closed. They actually had the opportunity to downsize their square footage, and they took it and moved across the street. We just discovered that last night because we were looking on one side of the street, and I'm like, oh, look, it's over there. And it's probably smart for them because they do a lot of their business in takeout. Because their takeouts, I mean, it's just as good as eating it in-house. So they probably actually will save a lot of money and be a more profitable business by downsizing a bit. I'm sure real estate on Castro Street is not cheap. Though they were pretty full inside last night since it was cold out. Oh, yuck, Miss Nymph. Oh no. Darn it. Smack that husband. Limit the puppy's water is the rule. Oh my gosh, I would die. Like if I woke up that many times a night, I would be like, I would have a serious talk with my husband. It would be sit down, come to Jesus. It would be serious. Because, you know, sleep's important. It's really, really important for health and immune system and functionality. It's not like it's just like, oh, you can lump it for a while. No, it has repercussions, dang it. Oh, lovely. Yeah, and it's highly contagious, of course. So I got a little bit of my indigo, my black indigo on my leather boots. That's fine. I mean, this is all in shadow anyway, so a little extra shadow on top of the boots isn't going to be a big deal. I'm using my Reaper just to block these in. Oh yeah, old dogs also have the same thing, right, Heckman? Oh no. Poor Papa. How old is Malcolm now? Is he 4 months? Yeah, I was trying to explain to David's dad why dog parks can be questionable. Because you never know when there's going to be some doofus, right? That's the thing. Some doofus with a really not very friendly dog. And since if Kiki was older, I wouldn't worry as much, but she's still a puppy and she can still form opinions, you know, based on experiences rather strongly. So 5 months. Okay. Well, you're almost to 6 months. Hang on. Hang on. 6 to 7 months he'll probably get more adult brain cells. Kiki is getting more adult brain cells. Yeah. I'm sorry, Miss Dimp. I hope you get sleep soon. Seriously, so important. Maybe it's time to sit down and have a talk. Talk with the hubs. Ask him if he would like to wake up, you know, 3 or 4 times a night. Alrighty, so we've got that blocked in, but it's still really light because I thinned it a bit much, so I'll have to put on another coat to get it to go nice and dark. And I definitely want it dark because right now it's reading kind of, it's darker, but it's not, it's still in the same family with other stuff, so. Now this technically is getting into the realm of a green, blue, purple. It's just a slightly slid, green, orange, purple. It's a slightly slid green, orange, purple, right? Because it's a yellow, green, and a blue, purple, and a red orange. So it's a way that you could do a green, purple, orange, but not really, you know, not really, right? You've slide it a little bit. This is Black Indigo, actually. I switched to Black Indigo because Death Knight Black is not a good base coat. Agent Marvel, Black Indigo is the Death Knight color, but has coverage. I just thinned it a little much here, so but it's the same, roughly the same color. Although black indigo as just a little bit, I would say black indigo is a little more purple, and it's definitely got better, more intense and better coverage. Death Knight is more black, much less purple. So if I put a little bit next to it, and then I grab my base so that you can actually see something. Where's my black base? There it is. So you can see it's a little more purple. And if I actually got a solid coat down, it's also a little more vibrant, but it covers better. You can see this is very see-through. That, once I get a decent coat on, is very opaque. So yeah, I want this to be pretty dark, then bring it up. Because remember, if we have a nice dark solid coat to begin with, it'll automatically give us more contrast there. Now it's looking kind of like you can tell it's a colored black, but it is looking much closer to black after that second coat. That's more what I want. Good. I hope your kitties like the cat tree. Tristoma. Kiki would like for us to get a flying machine for her so that she can chase birds. That is what Kiki would really want. If she could ask Santa for anything or for anything for her birthday, I'm pretty sure it will be wings. But at the thought of Kiki, a flying Kiki, is pretty terrifying, even worse than flying monkeys. So I don't think she's going to get one. I would say blue liner and Kraken ink, maybe? Because you want an indigo. Kraken ink's really intense. Death Knight doesn't have probably as much blue as blue liner. Maybe Death Knight black, Kraken ink, and a touch of a dark blue. But Death Knight is like... The Kraken ink will just overwhelm the Death Knight black. Death Knight's very... It's just not a real strong color. Yeah, dragon wings for Puppy, right? She would be a terror. We'd never see her again. She'd fly away and forget how to come home. She'd chase some bird 5 counties over and then go, "Where's Mama?" That would be Kiki. Kroniko, you're funny. You and David. David's like, putting together furniture is just a puzzle for him, and he loves puzzles. So we finalized the font on my book covers, and she's going to start painting the rest, I think. I asked her kind of for an ETA on when she was going to need page counts. I'm scared to find out the answer. Especially because I've had 2 days of disruption now. Totally upending my schedule. Alright, so now we've got that dark. And if I put a black base behind here, we'll be able to see the purple more, the indigo. Knit Kiki some wings. Yeah, I don't hate IKEA. They're perfectly serviceable. My table is IKEA. My table and chairs that I sit at all the time are IKEA. That makes sense, Kroniko. Yeah, this is definitely, and this does have Death Knight shading it, remember. I was mixing the meadow green, mixing some Death Knight into it, and I'll be doing more of that because we have to do the backside still. But I wanted to get at least my accent color in here. I think I'm going to go for gray fur, cream cuffs, cream there, cream feather. So actually, let me get my gnawed bone and just block that all in. So I'm doing a new thing for me next month. I am getting coaching, specifically coaching that uses the Enneagram and Clifton Strengths and kind of like just talking to you about your process. But the purpose of it is to give me a more efficient work process, one that works with my strengths instead of against them. It's a writer's program, of course. But I've never, ever had coaching on anything before. I mean, not serious coaching, certainly not as an adult. So it'll be quite the experience. And I don't know, and I'm looking forward to it because I really want to like get some insight into like, because I know there are good parts of my brain that are helping me with my process, but I also know that there are parts of my brain that are probably getting in my way. I was allowed to use the buzzsaw. That's funny, Korniko. Oh yeah, middle schoolers for sure. Well, that'll get you your calories, all right, Twisted Oma. You said you want your calories, right? Hey, Roger. I had carbs last night. I had rice, just a little bit, as little rice as you could possibly have with Thai food in order to make it fun to eat. It impacted my sleep a little, but not too bad. Is it Girl Scout cookie time, or did you have frozen ones, Twisted Oma? I never know when it's Girl Scout cookie season. I tend to resist them anyway because I make my own now. I made last night. I made Swiss lemon cookies and brownies. Your dad didn't get the memo. It's time. It's Girl Scout cookie time. I'm gonna switch to my Winsor & Newton and block in the cream, what are going to be the off-white or cream parts. I'm going to go with the mid-tone. I'll probably shade this color. It's Gnawed Bone. Gnawed Bone is really, like, in the old days, I would have used Stained Ivory, and if you still have Stained Ivory, you could use it. I think Gnawed Bone is maybe just a little bit superior to Stained Ivory in that it's actually more warm. It has a bit more brown tone to it, which means it tends to be a better neutral, less gray, more all-purpose. Off-brand, yep. Some of them are like, I don't know, Kritiko. I'm like half of me is like, it's just the nostalgia of having eaten them as a kid. Like that makes them good. But then, you know, Samoas are actually really good, and the Thin Mints are tasty if you like that. Like, I think everybody agrees that those two are kind of the standouts. I do appreciate that they offer a gluten-free one, and they're not bad. But you know, when I really get down to it these days, I can make my own cookies and make them keto-friendly, and so I'm gonna do my keto baking instead, because if I get the Girl Scout cookies could be gluten-free, but they're still loaded with sugar. Oh yeah, the chocolate-covered peanut butter aren't bad. Yeah, I say Ancient Marvel. Yeah, you're great. You're great. Yeah, the frozen Thin Mints are great if they're frozen. I love frozen dessert anyway. Ultra Squid with the Addams Family quote. say that, like, if you compare them to other, like, just bought in the store cookies, Kariniko, they're probably up there with some of the better bought in the store cookies, Girl Scouts. But the Girl Scout cookies will never be as good as, like, homemade. Like getting a homemade cookie from somebody who really knows their stuff. So I would say for people who don't have time or inclination to bake or don't know how to really, that Girl Scout cookies are probably, they're up there, right? And the other thing is that you only get them at certain times of year. So I think the rarity also helps, because it's like you enjoy them and they're only available, now, so you buy them. I think that's part of it right there, is that you can't, unlike other cookies where you could just get them whenever you wanted them, these you can't. So they're not, yeah, After Eight mints sound familiar, but I don't know if we can, Kroniko. Yeah, I mean, I still think they're up there, like, with some of the better prepackaged stuff. They're not craptastic. They're not Oreos. Like, and Oreos are tasty and all, but mostly it's the sugar and the fat that make them tasty. That's true with all cookies, probably. But, like some cookies are just, you can eat one and tell that it's junk food. And some cookies, you eat them and you're like, oh, that's a pretty good cookie. Yeah, I mean, it is supporting the organization. That lets us rationalize our cookie consumption. I think it's all those things, Kerniko. It's like, for me, it's like, I've been having them since I was a kid, and I was in the Girl Scouts. I had some nostalgia around them. It's the scarcity factor. It's the fact that they're not bad, and several flavors are quite tasty. And then it's, you can feel good about eating your cookies because you're supporting the Girl Scout organization. So that gives you a feel-good reason to eat cookies. By the way, I'm using my black indigo to shade this. Yeah, I agree with you, Agent Marvel. I'd put them up there with the premium store-bought. Mint fondant things covered in dark chocolate? No, okay. But yeah, I think it's all of those things. I think that the reason Girl Scout cookies are such a thing is all of those things. And frankly, it does it keeps the Girl Scouts, like, solvent. Like, that's a better fundraiser. Like, the Boy Scouts, I think, complained at one point that they just didn't have as good of a fundraiser. So I'm experimenting with using this black indigo just to shade a little bit of this gnawed bone, and it is looking very blue right now, but we'll let it just sit. I just wanted something in it. The feather's like all curled up and under down here, and there is some texture. And I'll probably come through with a warm brown to do actual shading on it, but I just wanted to not have it be a blob. It's kind of habitual. Yeah. All the sweets get imported through Canada and they keep all the good stuff. Yeah. Well, maybe. Canadian conspiracy theory. Canadian cookie conspiracy. Oh, that's catchy. We could use that. Canadian candy conspiracy. That's it. Canadian candy conspiracy. If it has the 3 C's, if it's got alliteration, it must be true. You did 4-H. I did both. I did a little bit of brownies and a little bit of Girl Scouts. I always liked 4-H better, so I ended up going with 4-H for like the rest of my kid things. So I was in the 4-H painting project and the 4-H dog project because we had a dog trainer who did classes. So we had a dog project, which was pretty cool. That's how I got exposed to like obedience training and dog shows and Konica. Yeah, the Canadian confectionery conspiracy. That's even better, Kodiak and Shadow Raven. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that good for me on setting goals. I think it matters. Of course, with all these things, it matters having an invested adult who wants to teach, right? I was talking about this. Actually, we talked about this last summer, the summer before, when I went to Wisconsin and actually went to the fair with my nephew and my mom. And I think I talked to you guys about how traditional arts had almost like completely disappeared and were replaced by photography. And it was just that the main reason was that there was not a good instructor. Like there weren't instructors, there weren't adults who wanted to teach some of the more involved arts like painting and woodworking. And so those things were just dying out at the fair. Yeah, yeah, Asia Marvel. Yeah, my mom taught the 4-H sewing project for a couple years. We did a pizza one. Our 4-H had a pizza fundraiser, and we all got together one day, and I'm sure there was every 4-H club had to take a turn, but making the pizzas. So one person had to spread the sauce on, one person had to crumble the sausage on, one person had to, it was all assembly line with a bunch of kids making pizzas. It was actually, I hated it because I got stuck on sausage all the time and my fingers froze because it was frozen meat. But or mostly frozen meat, right? Obviously, I had to crumble it and make it into sausage balls and put it on the pizza. But I still remember it. Like I have vivid memories of making the pizzas for our 4-H club. And then at the county fair, our 4-H club, the 4-H clubs had a booth and they sold the pizzas. And then you also took orders for the pizzas and delivered them frozen to people. They were pretty good pizzas. Like considering a bunch of kids made them, the ingredients were good. Complot de confiserie canadienne. CCC it is. Yeah, so I still have like memories of being stuck on that pizza making. And I always would grump about it, but then every year I kind of looked forward to it because it was kind of fun. It was cool. A little bit too dark there. I'm just doing some lining, but I've got this black indigo. Yeah, my mom was always very good at sewing, so she was a natural for the sewing project. The sewing project still has involved people who want to teach it, interestingly. But painting and like woodworking really were kind of disappeared from the fair. Painting and drawing. Everybody's doing digital photography. I just want to get that line up there. There we go. Okay. Speaking of dogs, my dog project just wandered in. You gonna collapse back there, Paw? Yep. I'm just gonna collapse behind the screen. All right. And there, it's good. Okay, time for beige cuffs. I'll feel a lot better about this figure getting him blocked in, I think. I'm just going to paint over the gems on the cuff because we can always go back and get them. And this is thinned 4:1. It's my standard base coat, really. The other nice thing about Gnawed Bone, is it Adventure Colors Fast Palette for the Gnawed Bone? I can't remember. Or is it, or was it Gloom and Grave? And notice I'm doing the opposite of what I usually do when painting a figure. I didn't start the skin first at all. Yeah, gloom engrave, I bet. No, white. Orange would not be, our orange color is a red orange, and it's the leather pendrake. Like, remember brown is a color, and especially if it's very reddish, you can see, like, this is a medium brown. Look at how red this leather is. So that is the red orange on here. I would never put a bright orange feather up here. For one thing, you have all muted colors on this model. So if you are going to do a bright color, you have to keep it very small or it will clash. So, like, you would maybe do a bright color on the gemstones because they're very small and you could get away with it. But if you tried to do it on the feather's just way too big, it would clash. It would look obnoxiously bad. Any bright color on this model will, unless you keep it very small. Yeah, my mom pretty much let me wear what I wanted. I put my foot down against wearing dresses to school, though. Like, I remember putting my foot down about that in kindergarten and first grade. I was definitely a tomboy, and there was no way. I think she got me to wear one dress, one skirt, to school once. And otherwise, I was like, nope. All right, so you've got that, and we're going to get another piece of just the off-white. This is a neutral, so you can use neutrals to kind of block in, fill in areas that make sense, and they're not going to clash with anything. Because that's our challenge here, is like put colors on that aren't going to clash. But yeah, this is not going to be a bright model. This is, I wanted to go more muted and like hunting lodge with him. I did not, as it is, he's still kind of a dandy because we're still going with the indigo and the green. But I wanted it to be a much more naturalistic. Yeah, Shadow Raven. I was a tomboy. I grew up in my little neighborhood. There was one other girl, but only a little bit later. And mostly it was boys. I ran around with boys in the neighborhood. I was a tomboy through and through. So, one of the guys, so to speak. I was far more interested in doing that sort of stuff. It was only when I got a little older, like when I was 10 or so, that I started hanging out more with the girl in my neighborhood and listening to music and stuff. Kiki, Noah Diggs. Do you want your bed in here? She had her bed in here the other day. She was pretty happy about it. It was a kilt. Yeah. Yeah, I just knew I didn't want to be a girly girl. That wasn't my mental image of myself. I had a pretty strong sense of who I was when I was a kid. I had a pretty strong sense of what I did and didn't like. I would stand up to adults on it. I still have a strong sense of what I did and didn't like. So, do and don't like. No, I'm not really paying attention to the burger. I have a concept in my head of like the head of a noble's hunting lodge, and that's what I wanted to paint him like. I'm sure plenty of people are going to paint him ostentatious or tasteless, but I did not want to do that. Oh dear. Cornico. Funny. I want a gray. I think I'm going to mix one out of walnut and do my usual, let's see, where am I? Walnut. Do walnut plus my nod bone. That's so stupid, Miss Stamp. I don't remember if I had to wear a dress to graduation. I need a pokey tool. Ah! Don't mess with the guy with the kilt. That's funny. Do you also wear a claymore with it? Is that why it adds to intimidation? Oh, yeah, my walnut is thoroughly clogged. 1 second while I try to get that unclogged. Well, you've got to be, like, you're out in the wilderness, in the hunting lodge. You've got to have a sword. What are you going to do when monsters attack? Yeah, Quindy, that's my kind of girl. Thumbs up. Double thumbs up. Man, I saw a guy with the snazziest docks at the restaurant last night at Amarin. He was wearing yellow suede dock shoes. You could just tell they were docks because of the yellow stitch around the bottom. And I was just like, the minute I walked in, the first thing I focused on was, that guy has amazing shoes. And I'm like, oh, Doc Martens, yep. It's very funny. You should get a pair of Docs. I own a pair of Docs. I actually got them out when Kiki was a pupster. I'm going to do 2 drops of walnut and 2 drops of pure white, by the way, instead of the... Just to get it more gray, I think. But yeah, I put on my Docs when the puppa was young because they were impervious to puppas. She couldn't do anything to them. Yeah, when it gets awful out, I mean, they're actually really good. If you have the boots, they're pretty darn impervious to the elements. All right, so I mixed a nice dark brown or dark gray from this. It still has a hint of brown to it because walnut has oxide in it, but it's a good gray to start with to get this the gray mantle and everything all set. I would say actually I'm going to take it up one more notch with another drop of white because I do want it to be a little bit of a medium light color instead of a medium dark color. I mean, all good shoes are expensive these days. So yeah, I don't think they've gone down in price, depending on what you order. But you could check. I mean, they have a website. Go shopping. Shopping. All right, lightened up my gray a little bit. I'm going to lighten it up more with highlights. This is going to be my shadow. Yeah, I'm with you, Crowley. Although I am more likely to spend money on good shoes because I walk a lot. I'm more likely to spend it on that than on other pieces of apparel. All right. And I think I was going to give him a red beard, actually, so. Now, the funny thing about walnut, when you add white to it, is that it actually goes a little purpley. You see that? The gray has a slight slide to it, and that's because of the red oxide in it. Remember I mentioned that red plus black makes purple? That's what you're seeing, even though it's a red oxide and not a traditional red. But we will highlight it by adding in a more yellow golden. We'll probably use the non-bone. Makes sense, Quindy. I do like the Doc's shoes. I feel like they're actually pretty styling. I would maybe get a pair of shoes. Yeah, they do. They have very, very nice shoes. Yeah. I have to blow so much money this month, guys. Oh my god, because my covers are not going to be cheap. Like, I'm almost at the edge of my comfort zone on how much money I have to spend this month. And then I have to buy ISBNs, which also, it turns out, are bloody expensive. So I am blowing through a lot of money this month that I had saved. I had saved it for this purpose, but still, it's uncomfortable when you blow $2,000 all in 1 month. It's like, it hurts so much. So I will not be buying pretty Doc Martens or clothing for a while. It's a lot, especially when I don't have a, I don't have a real job. I have my Patreon. My Patreon is keeping me afloat. Like, the hope is that the books will bring in a small income, but you can never count on that. Books, my books might sit around like lumps. I don't know. I'm in a totally different world now. It's a whole new world. I know a few of you guys will probably pick up the books. That'll make me happy. The biggest thing I can hope is that a couple people read the books and that they like them enough to recommend them or to give a review. That's the most I can ask for on my first book. I'm keeping my expectations scaled so low. Yep. Yeah, if you read this, like, what I would probably ask is, if you don't normally read this sort of book, hold off for a few weeks. I'll probably put it on sale, like somewhere on, because Amazon lets you put it on promotions if you're exclusive to them, and I'm going to start exclusive to them. So I probably ask you to hold off for a few weeks, because essentially Amazon's algorithm is going to be looking at the first sales to see what kind of person should I show this book to, right? And so if a bunch of people buy it who don't normally buy the genre, Amazon will start showing it to really the wrong people. But I know a bunch of you do read fantasy and young adult fantasy at that. Although I don't care so much about if you read young adult specifically. When I wrote the books, I really was writing them for me. And obviously I'm not a young adult anymore. So they can be enjoyed by, I think, various ages. I am going to get some brown liner because I don't want to use the indigo to shade this. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why I'm not like, oh, I'm done with the Patreon, let's do a writing. Yeah, no, not that. I mean, when it comes down to it, Shadow Raven, I probably quit my job before I could quit my job, but with the pandemic and moving out here to be with David, it was just the way it was going to be. And with Kiri being so not functional, like there was no way I was getting a real job, quote unquote. And now that I'm actually making this work, it's really just about finally doing something I've dreamed of doing for literally decades. So yeah, it's like I'm not all of this is just part of the Anne ecosystem at this point, But yeah, if you like fantasy, if you read a lot of fantasy, especially if you like if fairy tale adventure sounds fun to you, then yeah, pick up the book if you want to. I'm only going to put it up. I was back and forth on pricing, But I think I'm only going to put it up for $2.99 for the first book. So it'll be pretty affordable. And if you have Kindle Unlimited, of course, you can read it for free. Because I'll put it in KU for the first 3 months to see how it does. Oh, the wooden soul locks, yeah. Oh, the floral ones, yeah. Those look so sharp, Quindy. So sharp. Good girl, good guys. I'm really glad that some of you will buy my book. That helps, you know. That helps. I mean, a lot of books don't even get, like, maybe they sell one copy, right? Like, they always are quick to tell you how many millions of books are in the Amazon store. But a lot of those books, like, never sold more than a couple of copies, so. Oh, no. I mean, Shadowraven, you can get to being a six-figure author as an indie writer. You absolutely can. But it takes years of work and writing more books and building your audience. And I understand. I think what helps me, Shadowraven, is that I did the Patreon, right? The Patreon was also a slow starter. It's an act of faith. You're hoping people find you, right? You're trying to do the best products, the best PDFs you can do, the best video, the most informative stuff. You're trying to get it out there and you're trying to help people. And like but you just have to cross your fingers, talk about it, and hope people come to you. Like that the product, the high quality of the product attracts, you know, your ideal fan, your ideal viewer, somebody who's going to get helped by this stuff, right? Yeah. I mean, if you don't enjoy it, I do not expect anything. If you want to leave me a 1-star review, I won't hold it against you. Okay, I might. But you know what I mean, guys. I'm never going to like ask you to like my book just because you like me, right? It's like if you enjoy it, honestly, you're never going to be able, like word of mouth isn't word of mouth if you're just trying to help a friend who's a writer. Like think about how many times in your life, and it's probably happened at least once. Hey, yeah, my friend just wrote a book. Do you want to read it? You know, it's like, oh, I don't know, right? But it's more like, hey, I just read this book, and it's written by a friend of mine, but it's really good, and it's like this, you know, like then maybe you'll read it, right? So, yeah, I don't expect you guys to push it unless you like it. Hopefully you like it. I put a lot of work into the writing and my craft, so we'll see though. You just never know. You just never know. Yeah, you've got to have. Honestly, Babatuk, you're right. Like I follow a lot of authors, and many authors are going kind of hybrid. Like they aren't, well, like Alona Andrews, for example. They're a hybrid author at this point. They indie publish some of their stuff, and they have traditionally published books. So, and it's honestly, you get so much better paid as an indie writer. And traditional publishing really doesn't do much for your discoverability these days. They put out so many books that if your book doesn't hit and essentially go off running, like, you know, let off running in the first like week or two, they just kind of like let you fritter out. They don't care. They're looking for the next Stephen King or the next Nora Roberts. They're not going to give your book time to grow. As an indie writer, you can give your book time to grow. You can do what I'm doing. You can put the book out there, then do the next book and get it out there. You know, you can talk about it. You can see if people like it. You know, you can slowly build your list, your mailing list, and your fan base, and make sure you've got a good website and stuff like that, you know. I'm just considering it a second Patreon at this point. That's what it always was to me. Being an indie author, I knew that it would be just as much work, and that I would be letting myself in for it, but I really love my stories, and I hope that other people love them too. So, I will be able to the Kindle. KU or AU, KU, right? So with Kindle, the way it works, if you put your books in Kindle Unlimited, there is a big pot of money that's presumably made up, mostly or all, from the subscriptions of Kindle Unlimited people, right? That every time you pay your monthly Kindle Unlimited, whatever, it contribute to that pot of money. And then all of the Kindle Unlimited books that get read, they divide up the number of pages, and gets divided into the pot of money, and you get paid a certain amount per page read. Yes, there will be physical copies. I believe strongly in doing softcover, and I'll even put out a hardcover just so I can own one. Nobody else may ever buy them, but I will. Kindle Unlimited. Yeah, so essentially you get paid a very small amount per page reading Kindle Unlimited. And some books do really well there, like romances, where people just tend to churn through romances, right? Do very well in Kindle Unlimited. I'm not sure how well this stuff will do in Kindle Unlimited, but the best you can do is try it. The nice thing with KU is, yeah, I'm going both through Amazon Print on Demand, so Amazon Publishing, and I'm going through Ingram Spark. So Ingram Spark, it has the advantage of being able to do hardcovers and large print and all that stuff, and they also have the advantage of being far better. The pricing structure is such that libraries and bookstores can order your book, unlike Amazon. Yeah, that's cool, Agent Marvel. Yeah, I see, and that's exactly it, is some people just don't do digital, and I get that because I used to be that person. So I definitely want, plus, let's face it, you spend 11 years writing a book, and you finally get it to a point where you're like, this is really good, and oh my God, I love the cover. How are you not going to do a print book? How are you not going to have one of those so you can order it and put it on your bookshelf and go, ee! Like, how could you not do that? I guess there's a lot of people who don't because it's an extra expense, but so, yeah. I mean, it's easier to do an ebook. It is. But my artist's fees include doing covers, the paperback covers, so. Honestly, ebooks, you make more money off of ebooks. So, okay, out of all of it, I'll probably make about the same amount of money from selling my $2.99 ebook as I do somebody getting my book on Kindle Unlimited and reading all the way through it, because it's a long book. Probably about the same amount of money there. And then it might even be the same amount of money per paperback and hardcover, because what they usually tell you to do as an indie is to figure out how much you have to charge for extended distribution for libraries and bookstores to be able to get a discount, right? Because they need to, one, libraries deserve the discount and bookstores need the discount in order to be profitable. So then you have to say, okay, this is how much the book costs to make. This is how much extra I have to charge so that libraries and bookstores can make their cut. And then you add your money onto the end. So you look at the price and you're like, can I afford to make a couple bucks off this book? And then you raise the price to that. So that's the structure you're trying to get. So I will ironically make probably the same amount across everything, but only because my book is long and because like because I'm following kind of the standard pricing structure. So now if later books, Declare Men, part of the reason I'm starting the first book low is that I want everybody to be able to get it, right? But later books are probably going to go up to $4.99 because let's face it, if it's over 100,000 words, I want to charge $4.99 for it once I'm like more established. And I think that's still pretty good buy considering. So then I'll definitely make a bigger margin off of an ebook than I will off of Kindle Unlimited or paperback hardcover. Yeah, oh, absolutely, Turgeon. Only if it's Kindle Unlimited. So that's the kind of the weird thing about Kindle Unlimited, because you are paid by the page read. And a lot of people don't finish books. I mean, I'm there. If I start a book and it disgusts me or like kind of like loses me like quarter of the way through, I stop. So, but yeah, it honestly tracks the number of page reads you get. Like that's it. Whereas if somebody buys my ebook, so if you buy my ebook for your Kindle, if you pay the $2.99, then I get the money. But if you download it for Kindle Unlimited and you never open it, I don't get anything. Yeah. So yeah, if you pay $2.99 for my ebook, then I get that. Yes, exactly. I get a percentage. I get a royalty of that minus some download fee. Yeah. So yeah, I can explain the author business to you guys now. But yeah, so it's so I kind of like the fact that I'm probably going to be making the same no matter what it is, so you guys can just choose the format that you want then. All right, gonna grab this brown liner, make sure I've got all this kind of lined on the fur. I want to make sure, I didn't want to just reach for my black indigo because since the fur already has this purple hue to it, I did not want to, I didn't want to double down on that, so went brown. Oh, weird, Kodiak, yeah. Well, I had 2 professional editors look at my work, and they would have caught all that crap. But I don't do that. I do have a nice little author's note at the end, but you don't have to read it if you don't want. It just talks a little bit about where the story is based on, what the fairy tales that the story is based on. So I'm lining around the face. Now you can see how that makes the face pop out. Yay, online shopping. But yeah, so now it's getting real though. Like it's funny how real it made it feel to see the book cover. And now she'll start painting. We chose the font, and she did a nice little, this artist is so good, guys. I just can't, I'm definitely giving her credit in the start of my books because, not that she really needs business. I get the feeling she's quite busy, but I just want to endorse her because she's so good. But her attention to detail is great. Here, let me show you. I haven't showed anything today, so where is my... All right. Oh, scary. Okay. Let me get this. Boom. Here we go. So like she's just doing things like little things that you won't notice except when you have the book in hand, where you'll notice. Let's see if I can get it. Yeah, there. Just the little gold texture. It's not showing up real good on camera, but you get the idea. So it's like she's just putting that little attention into things that are just so beautiful. Yeah. So just lovely. They're just lovely. And then she's going to start the painting on them. So she's been doing a bit of the painting as we go along, but yeah, it is a nice touch. I really love my covers so far. They're coming along. They're coming along. They're getting there. But no, she just scared me by saying, you know, that she could do the print-on-demand templates like really short time. And I'm like, oh no. Right, yeah. Doc Martens are nice. Doc Martens, though, there's something like that you like save up for. Like I saved up for mine. I was like, I really want a pair of Docs and I'm going to buy one, but I'm going to put aside the money to do it. Yeah. Oh, you need to break them in, yeah, for sure. It depends on how much you wear them, right? Like, I wore mine to work a couple days when I was at Reaper. And that helped. Alrighty, I'm going to actually grab a little bit of, this brown liner, thin it down, and we're going to tackle the fact that his fur here looks like it's in a couple of layers, like the sculptor is actually kind of sculpted like layers into it, which is a really nice touch. So I'm going to put a little bit of this brown liner because it seems like there's an upper section to the mantle, see? So I'm just going to put, this isn't really a wash per se. I'm more glazing. I'm trying not to have a lot of pooling. But I can see where the fur is more standing out, and this is just going to help me when I come in to highlight it. To have sections of it. It breaks it up a bit if you just try to dry brush, like, you know, and just do one layer of highlighting that's uniform, it doesn't quite look right with fur. And so if the sculptor takes the time to actually sculpt like slight layers onto here, it's to help you out, because not only is it the way that the fur would probably lie more naturally, but it just helps you to have something to break it up. Oh yeah, I mean, if you've got the military boots, you don't need Doc's, Shadow. Mostly wear Crocs. Yeah, when you work from home. Yeah, my feet will get painful if I abuse them too much. So yeah, look at the sculpt. Often with sculptors won't do these layers, but this is really nice fur. Like Bobby did a really nice job on this fur. And so when you do see this sort of feature, try to embrace it and consider it when you're painting. Because that's just going to be, it's going to be a much nicer look to just break it up like so. Yeah, I'm in slippers nonstop too. I have really comfortable Kookaburra Uggs, and I love them. I just got a new pair actually that I'm slowly wearing in, but I only bought them once Kiki was done eating my slippers. Speaking of, where is my doglet? She's around, I assume. The doglet has disappeared. It's highly suspicious, but I don't hear anything. All right, so we've got this. Now the lining is starting to bring everything out nicely. That's good. I still am kind of like looking at this and saying, what color are you? And it may just end up being brown leather, the sheath to this, because I've got that brown, the blackened brown elsewhere. It's a logical place to put it to repeat the dark brown around the figure. Even with neutrals, I try to have them more than one place. Oh yeah, wool socks. Yep. Yeah, I have some merino wool socks that are very, very nice. They're very comfy. I love them very much. All right, I'm going to grab the black and brown and block in that scabbard. And drop one drop of water in. Oh yeah, Crowley, have a good one. Thanks for coming. Yeah, it's weird how all of our feet are so different. Like, this is why there are so many different brands of shoes, right? Like, I could never, Skechers were never great for my feet, but I know people who they're amazing for. And like, I wear Nike and almost always have, but my mom can't wear them and she wears something different. Alrighty, well it is 11, but I'm going to block in the scabbard and then we'll pretty much call it a day. At least I feel like we got a lot more paint on this guy, and now I can actually work on highlighting and shading, and there's going to be like gold, of course, and some silver, that big buckle. Unless I make that big buckle brass, I might, although it's right up against this, so maybe not. Alrighty. So yeah, we've got that nice dark brown then. It's like black and brown is a nice dark chocolatey color. Let me grab my black base here. Since we've got a lot of dark colors on this model, that'll make the colors show up more. So I'd say that the black indigo is actually a very nice trace here. It's nice to get the gray blocked in once we get the gold blocked in. He's going to have actually quite a lot of colors on him. I mean, a lot of them are neutral-ish, but they're still like reading pretty well. Once I have everything blocked in, then we can resume work on the green, and then I'll work on other things. Yeah, Merrills are okay for a while on my feet, Kroniko. I used to wear them a lot. But then, I don't know, my feet for some reason just started readjusting while I was at Reaper because I was always on my feet. And then Merrills just became not as good for my back for some reason while I was standing. So I ended up switching away from them. But I still have a pair and I use it when it's mucky out because they're waterproof. So yeah. So there we go, guys. Like, that's where we're at with him. We definitely progressed. I feel like we definitely got a lot done today. Just in blocking in and figuring out where he is. I feel a lot better about him. Like, when I was looking at him this morning, I'm like, where the heck am I even going with this, right? And that's why we had to stop and consult the color wheel. And then now I feel like I like his color scheme. It's rich enough that, like, the colors are rich enough that I feel like he's still, like, dressed up, but I feel like he's more of a more practical than he would otherwise be. I think he'll be good. Yeah, Lodge Master. We'll call him Lodge Meister. I'll change his little name. I'll change his name on the card. Yeah, everybody's feet are so different though. It depends on how much you're on your feet and and how much, because your feet definitely spread when you stand a lot or walk a lot. If you're always on your feet. I used to have to wear wide. I was always like a 9.5 wide, and then when I switched to like during the pandemic and then like now where I don't spend nearly as much time on my feet. Even though I still walk a lot, but my feet shrunk to a 9 and they're not wide anymore. So your feet can change depending on your lifestyle. Remember that too. Alrighty, tomorrow Anne's going to knock over her puppy gate. And we're back on yellow and pink and purple. I actually really like leaving the pink on the interior. Oh, yeah, Archie feet. Yep. So, yeah, we are back to the lovely, lovely pinky yellow. So, I will look forward to seeing you all. We'll put some, Sunrise Cleric, I know. I need to do the yellow on her shield, too, and get some of the white blacked in. It's going to be a warm white, so we're definitely going to use a yellowy color, which is interesting because yellow, right? So I might not use this because this is so intense. We'll have to choose a different one. So we'll have to think about that. So more color stuff. Yeah, Tristoma for sure. Well, it's the same thing, right? How much load is on your feet. Yes, thank you all for tuning in. Do show up for Ms. Pretty Cleric. About as far from David's color scheme as I could get tomorrow. And yeah, and Josh is back at 2 p.m. and it's time to stretch. Make sure to stretch, folks. Always stretch. Keeps you limber. And then, I've got to take my puppet for a walk. I hope you all have a lovely day. Thank you for hanging out and just chatting with me through the course of the stream. I appreciate you all. All right. And here we go. Have a good one, everybody.